Stocks soar. Nifty scales 19,800 as hopes of a soft landing for the U.S. economy rise, and the Senate passing a stopgap bill to prevent a shutdown boosts sentiment. Oil and gas and IT lead gains while PSU banks lag today.
RBI asked Bajaj Finance to immediately cease sanctions and disbursals under two lending products for non-compliance with digital guidelines. Analysts see the period of resolution as key to assessing the impact of the move.
ONGC expects oil and gas from KG Basin to start flowing within 6 odd months. This even as it explores investing about 1 lakh crore rupees in 2 petrochemical joint ventures by 2028 to 2030. Analysts stay upbeat on ONGC stock.
Crude slips after U.S. output scales to a high and U.S. inventories swell. A dip in Chinese refining only adds to the mix, with the IEA now suggesting the market is not as tight as perceived earlier.
Sebi chairperson Madhvi Puri Buch says that the Industry Standards Forum could be included in the regulatory framework to facilitate implementation. Speaking at FICCI's Capital Markets Forum, she promised that all new Sebi rules will be backed by data. Hello and welcome. You've tuned into Business Lunch on this Thursday afternoon. I'm Nisha Podar. As always, with me is Pavitra Parekh. Pavitra, we started on a very good note today, especially after India won the semi-finals and went to the finals. So today the market is cheering, apart from all the economic, positives that are really coming in from the global scenario, and probably India making it to the finals. I would attribute as a cricket fan, probably.
Let's just attribute it to that. It sounds quite possible.
That's true. And let's look at the markets today. Yes, upbeat, and 19,800 level has been mounted by Nifty 50 and 0.67% gain at the moment, at the high point of the trading session. Remember that Nifty 50 opened just flattish to with negative bias today, and it has come a long distance in the positive sentiment as well as buying that we are seeing in the market today. Sensex too gaining about 475 points at the moment. Bank Nifty is showing slight underperformance to the key indices, but still about 0.25% in the green, and mid-cap is where a lot of exuberance lies and a lot of buying really taking place in that particular space. Mid and small cap, 0.64% up in mid-cap universe at the moment. Advance decline ratio heavily in favor of the advances, and the market breadth and the strength really coming in with a broad-based participation. On my screen at the moment, it's the IT counters which are really moving ahead with a lot of exuberance, Pavitra.
IT is clearly the big story of the day, right? I mean, and the kind of move that we've seen on it, we started absolutely flat and now we're at the high point. In fact, if you look at all of the top gainers on the Nifty, the top 4 or 5 are all of the big tech names. So some of them will come up for you, the likes of TCS, Tech Mahindra, Wipro, Infosys, all of these doing very well. The others, few stocks which have seen a big recovery from the lows and which is aiding the up move in the market are Reliance and HDFC Bank. So, you've seen a big move higher over there as well. HDFC Bank now up almost 0.7%. So that is holding up well. The mid and small caps, like Nisha was pointing out, there's just no stopping them at all. So there's a lot of these smaller pockets which are doing well. The power pack, for instance, right? Names like CESC, you have Tata Power, NTPC, all of these seeing big moves. And under pressure, there's not too much, but a little bit of profit taking seen in some of the metal names, because yesterday, remember, we saw that big rally come through. So that is the shape of the market. Things are looking very good. So let's kickstart the show by talking about some stocks. Bajaj Finance is on our radar after the Reserve Bank of India has ordered the company to stop loan disbursals via 2 of its lending products. So Abhishek is here to take us through the details on this story. Abhishek.
Well, RBI has taken action against Bajaj Finance. They've asked Bajaj Finance to stop sanctions and disbursements of loans under 2 key lending products, that is Ecom and Insta EMI cards, with immediate effect. Now, action is against the non-adherence of the company to the extent of digital guidelines that was laid by RBI in 2022 with respect to non-issuance of key fact statements to borrowers. So, supervisory restrictions will be reviewed upon the rectification of the said deficiencies to the satisfaction action of RBI. Now, this is the first time that RBI has issued action against like this under digital lending guideline. Bajaj Finance is a systematically important NBFC and they have a credit rating of AAA by CRISIL as well as ICRA. So details of the product is that the total EMI cards issued, that is card in force, is about 4.2 crore as of Q2 FY24, which is up nearly 22% YOY and about 10.3% quarter on quarter. In Q2, the EMI cards acquired grew by 30% YOY and about 5.7% quarter on quarter to about 130,000 cards in a quarter alone. Now, Bajaj Finance has given a reply on the exchanges as well. They say that there is no material financial impact on the company from the RBI action or directions. They will rectify on RBI's observation and comply with RBI direction at the earliest possible. We have a brokerage note from Macquarie coming in, who has an outperformance rating and a target price of 9,190 per share. They say that with RBI order, they will monitor the disbursements and AUM growth of Bajaj Finance going ahead. Bajaj Finance had added about 3.58 million customers in Q2 FY24. About 0.68 million EMI cards were acquired digitally, which comprised about 19% of total customers that they acquired in Q2 FY24. So EMI card franchise stood at close to 4.2 crores, while digitally sourced EMI card franchise stood at about 42 lakhs, which is around 10% of the outstanding EMI card base. They think that the numbers look on the higher side, and for this reason they are surprised by management comment on minimal operational impact. How long will RBI keep this ban needs to be seen. Earlier instances show that RBI kept the ban anywhere between 12 months to 18 months for it to be fully revoked. So since the press release already states that Bajaj Finance has started issuing KFS, they think that the ban would be less than 12 months. Back to you.
All right. Thanks so much, Abhishek. Very, very important details and also perspective on RBI's order on Bajaj Finance. The stock has recovered. Moving from one regulator to the other, well, Sebi chairperson Madhuri Puri Buch says that the industry standard forum could be included in the regulatory framework to facilitate implementation. Now, she was speaking at the 20th Annual Capital Markets Conference and also added that they would not bring regulation into the market that was not backed by data. Listen in.
There is no better way for the market to progress and for the regulator to do its job than to work with the industry in a spirit of partnership, and which is what is embodied not just in our advisory committees, of which we have a very rich history. Right from inception, we've had a very rich history of our advisory committees for regulation formation, but now with the Industry Standards Forum for Regulation Implementation and Standards, we do not and will not bring regulation into the market that is not backed by data. That was our commitment to you, and as I said, this is the progress that we have.
All right, that is the word from the Sebi chairperson. It is time for a short break, but before that, on the sidelines of the Morgan Stanley Asia Pacific Conference, Mike Wilson, the Chief Investment Officer and Chief U.S. Equity Strategist of Morgan Stanley, spoke to CNBC on the outlook for the U.S. market and lots more. Listen in to what he had to say.
It's been a tricky year, I think, but the best thing I could say about this year is that the dispersion, at least in the U.S. market, has really increased, meaning the stock picking opportunity set has actually been quite good. Large cap quality stocks have performed exceptionally well. Meanwhile, on the other side, we have what I call lower quality, maybe leveraged balance sheets, smaller cap companies have not performed well because they're mired in what I would call what we thought would happen is an earnings recession. And so what you have is a real bifurcation of kind of the haves and the have-nots. But that's not a bad stock picking environment. It's been challenging, I would say, for a lot of investors to kind of get every wiggle right on the macro side. And look, that's not a bad environment for investing if you're a fundamentally driven portfolio manager. And one thing I will tell you is that while we think it's a flat year from start to finish, it's not going to be flat throughout the year. We're going to have drawdowns. We'll probably have some rallies back and forth. It's going to be kind of more of the same what we've seen. And this all hinges still on the economic outcome, right? So like our economic forecast is still no recession next year, but it's not an exciting economic outlook, meaning we're forecasting below kind of potential GDP, and also inflation's coming down. That's going to continue to weigh on revenue growth. So look, it's not a disastrous scenario by any stretch. It's also not like, okay, it's time to load up everything and there's going to be this huge acceleration in growth and everything's going to work collectively like it did coming out of the pandemic. It's going to be more of the same, stock picking, bottoms up driven.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into Business Lunch, and let's now bring you a big global event. US President Joe Biden and China's President Xi Jinping held talks in the United States on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation event. This was a Chinese premier's first time in the US after 6 whole years. So CNBC's Karen So and Arabelle Gumde have the updates on what was discussed at the meet.
US President Joe Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping have agreed to resume high-level military communication. The two leaders met in person for the first time in a year in San Francisco on the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Conference. China had severed military contact after then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan in August 2022. They also agreed to open a presidential hotline and work to curb fentanyl production. But Biden also reiterated that he had not changed his opinion that Xi is a dictator. Biden said the two had been blunt with one another and knew where they stood.
I also stressed the importance of peace and stability in the Taiwan Straits. It's clear that we object to Beijing's non-market economic practices and that disadvantage American businesses and workers, and that we'll continue to address them. And I named what I thought a number of those were.
Now, according to the U.S., President Xi said there needed to be a longer-term resolution on Taiwan. In his opening remarks, Xi called the U.S.-China relationship the most important in the world, saying turning their back on one another was not an option, but that it is also unrealistic for one side to remodel the other, while conflict would have unbearable consequences. Now, Xi later addressed a CEO dinner where he said relations had to stay strong.
It is the convergence of many streams of goodwill and friendship that has created a strong current surging across the vast Pacific Ocean. It is the reaching out to each other by our peoples that has time and again brought China-US relations from a low ebb back onto the right track. I'm convinced that once open, the door of China-US relations cannot be shut again.
Right, some important comments coming in from the world leaders there. To another global development and the latest update coming in from the conflict in West Asia. In an escalation of its offensive in Gaza, Israeli troops conducted a raid at the Al-Shifa hospital yesterday. They have now said that they found rifles, ammunition, body armors, and other military equipments in a radiology building. They also released a video showing these weapons and alleged that Hamas was using the hospital as its command center. Meanwhile, the ASEAN defense ministers called for ceasefire in Gaza and Myanmar solution at 17th ASEAN Defense Ministers meeting. Now, the UN Security Council also adopted a resolution calling for urgent humanitarian pauses and corridors in Gaza Strip.
All right, that is the latest from the tensions in West Asia. But some more news, and this is back home. Rescue operations at the Uttarakhand tunnel collapse site in Uttarakhand have now entered the 5th day. Yesterday, the Indian Air Force airlifted a 25-ton heavy drilling machine from Delhi to expedite the rescue of 40 laborers who are trapped inside. According to the authorities, the trapped workers will be rescued by tonight. We have CNN News 18's Anshul Singh, who joins us with the latest ground report.
It has been more than 90 hours now. The 40 laborers who are stuck inside are still behind the debris. The rescue operations are continuing. In fact, the heavy-duty American auger machine has reached on the spot and the assembly is in its last stages. Within the next few hours, we can actually expect that the drilling process would start. As you can see in the visuals over here, that the entire administration is absolutely in readiness just to make sure that as soon as the drilling process starts and we see the first person coming out of the tunnel, they can actually be taken to the nearest hospital at the earliest. That is the main focus of the administration at this point in time. Now, this American auger machine that has been brought on this spot, it will dig at a very, very high speed. At this point in time, it is predicted that the debris between the rescue workers and the people who are stuck inside is 70 meters. And this drilling machine will work at a pace of 5 meters per hour. So we can expect that within the next 10 to 12 hours will be the time taken for these people to finally come out, if at all the entire operation goes according to the plan, because yes, the terrain is very, very difficult, and also there are heavy duty machines that are stuck beneath the debris as well. So as soon as the drilling operation will start, we will get to know as to how much time it will take, but it has been more than 90 hours. Food, oxygen, water is being constantly supplied to all the workers who are present over here. Within the next few hours, we're also expecting some ministers to also come on the ground and to administer the situation out here. But yes, the good news and the only silver lining probably being that all the 40 workers are absolutely safe.
All right, Anshul, they're reporting from Uttarakhand, and we pray for the survival of all those trapped there. Rescue operations are on at the moment. All right, on to some news from the Cricket World Cup, and Team India comprehensively defeated the Kiwis at the Wankhede in Mumbai to seal their spot in the finals of the tournament. Batting first, well, India put up a total of 397 runs, aided by a blistering start from captain Rohit Sharma and centuries from Shreyas Iyer and Virat Kohli, and a handy 80 from Shubman Gill. Now, the Kiwis, while chasing, lost 2 early wickets, followed by a 181-run stand for the 3rd wicket, which was broken by in-form bowler Mohammad Shami, who picked up a record 7 wickets on the night. The pacer was also named man of the match, and with 7 wickets for only 57 runs, posted the best bowling figures by an Indian in the World Cups. With his century, Virat Kohli also set a record for the most centuries in ODI cricket, scoring his 50th yesterday to overtake Sachin Tendulkar's 49 tons. So big day for Indian cricket. And the second finalist for the Cricket World Cup will be decided today as Australia face off against South Africa in the second semi-final, to be held at the Eden Gardens in Kolkata today. And Australia are unbeaten, remember, in the last 7 games after losing the opening 2 fixtures of the tournament, while South Africa too have won 7 of their 9 games so far, and the match will get underway in about half an hour from now. So who's going to have a face-off with India in the finals on Sunday will be decided today, Pavitra. So it's a big day. I will hope for South Africa, who has been beaten so badly by India in the past. Australia looks like a tougher team today and has more chances to win, hopefully.
We have a few exciting days coming up, this semi-finals, and of course, you know, the finals where
our whole weekend is set.
Our whole weekend is set. And yesterday was one of those matches you were completely gripped by for the entire duration, right? Very exciting to watch that. But we do need to take a short break. There's lots more news and updates in just a bit. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
All right, equity market in great shape, and Nifty 50 holding above the 19,800 level. Well, the World Health Organization, WHO, has made loneliness a global health priority and has also set up a commission on social connection to study the impact of the same. Ekta Batra is right here to tell us all about it. Ekta.
The World Health Organization is making loneliness a global health priority. The WHO has launched a new commission on social connection. The aim of the commission, which consists of 11 leading policymakers, thought leaders and advocates from across the globe, will be to address loneliness as a pressing health threat, promote social connections as a priority, and accelerate the scaling up of solutions in countries of all incomes. Now, according to the WHO, social isolation, which means having an insufficient number of social connections, and loneliness, which is described as the social pain of not feeling connected, are widespread, impacting the health and well-being of people of all age groups across the globe. According to the WHO, social isolation affects 1 in 4 older people, with 5 to 15% of adolescents experiencing loneliness. These figures are likely to be underestimated as well. And the impact of social isolation and loneliness is real. According to the WHO, people without strong social connections are at a higher risk of stroke, anxiety, dementia, depression, amongst others. It carries an equal or even greater risk of early death as other risk factors such as smoking, excessive drinking, obesity, and more. Being socially isolated has been linked to depression, anxiety, and can increase the risk of cardiac diseases by 30%, according to the WHO. Lastly, the commission, which is co-chaired by the US Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy, will hold its first leadership level meeting between the 6th and 8th of December this year. The agenda of the commission has special significance at this time, as per the WHO, given how COVID-19 resulted in undermining of social connections. For the next 3 years, the commission will analyze how social connections help in improving the health for people of all ages and will also outline solutions to build social connections at scale.
All right, very important story there, Ekta. Thanks a lot for bringing us all of those details. But as we wrap up on this edition of Business Lunch, let's take a look into our special series, Mission Swachhata Aur Pani. Today we focus on Kamalam, who was a mere wage earner, but is now a community trainer and spiritual leader. Take a look at how her life has challenged norms as she drove towards representing the transgender community to create a world with equal opportunities.
Hello, my name is Kamalam. I'm a transgender. I realized my transgender identity at the age of 15. After finishing school, I studied scriptures and rituals. Now, I perform rituals in the temple. Additionally, I contribute to social service by being a part of the Swachh Bharat mission. I offer as much help as possible. Certainly, I've made several efforts. I submitted an application and visited the employment office. The job vacancy at the employment office was for a general post with no specific requirements. It was advertised during Vaikuntha Ekadashi every year. Among sanitation workers, I was the first transgender person employed in Tamil Nadu. Kamalam, that's how my name appeared. It's essential to keep our surroundings clean. Many homes still lack toilets. We must ensure that these toilets are clean and educate others about their importance. Please grant us the recognition and rights we deserve. We are willing to work. If offered a government job in sanitation, we won't refuse. We are ready to contribute. Just try offering us a job.